Hello friends and welcome back. We've been busy in the garden. We've been chopping and dropping bananas. As you can see, they're gone. There you go, there's your banana stumps. Yes, we've made some decisions about the tropical plants here. As I mentioned before, we are we're like right in the middle between North Florida and Central Florida. So we're in southern Marion County. It's too cold here for bananas. I can't believe I fell for it again. You know, this is my third Florida food forest, and my first two Florida food forests, it got too cold for bananas there too. I thought maybe it might be different this time. I thought maybe because this is the south side of the house, it would be protected, and these tropical plants wouldn't freeze as bad. Well, I was wrong. Again, like I said, I can't believe I got suckered again. Now, truth be told, I didn't spend any money on these bananas. They were given to me. That's one thing that people do commonly here in Central Florida, is everybody's giving each other banana plants all the time. But I think it's just too cold here. You really need to be in South Florida for bananas, as well as other tropicals like mangoes, for example, and many, many, many others. We're in a place where we can sort of use some tropicals. I've covered the leafy greens, for example, like these. And there's some tropicals that we can use, but there's many that I'm not gonna waste my time on anymore. Now, one thing about these bananas, I've been using them for chop and drop, and I'll go show you some of that in a sec. But they're gonna grow back right through the middle of these, right up. In fact, look at that. I just cut this morning. I cut it flush, and that's new growth since this morning. These bananas, there's some more right there, new growth right in the middle. These bananas grow back fast, and they'll continue to do that for a long time. There's just a tremendous amount of energy stored in the corm, or the root that's below the ground there. Tremendous amount of energy, and I can hack these and take them and use them as mulch over and over for a good long time before they will finally give up the ghost. So that's a good thing, actually. They actually are excellent as a chop and drop plant, rivaling Mexican sunflowers. I'm definitely not going to give up on Mexican sunflowers. These, even though all these leaves got burned, look, they're growing back great, all the way to the very end. That's way up on the very end of the plant. Look at that. And that's true about every one of these. So I'm not cutting them yet. I need them to get completely frozen so they don't sprout when I throw them down for mulch. So anyway, I'm gonna keep those. Let me show you what we did with the bananas. Our blueberries needed some mulch, so that's where the bananas went. All this came from the banana plants. Blueberries, this is a red mulberry tree right here. But yeah, these blueberries need a lot of mulch, so you never have enough mulch. So I decided to go ahead and use them for that. There's some more blueberries right here that I mulched with the bananas. So yeah, my philosophy, I can't believe it took me three Florida food forests to finally figure this out, but I am not going to waste my time on a lot of tropicals anymore. We're going to have colder weather this year. It's late November. We're going to have weather before next March that's probably going to get colder than what happened in early November here. And that means that these moringas are probably going to freeze to the ground. The papaya there could easily freeze to the ground. In fact, let's take a look at the big papaya over here. This big one, all the leaves burnt on it, except, interestingly, the young leaves. Usually it's, with temperate plants, it's different. The young leaves are the ones that get burnt first from the cold. But in this case, with this tropical plant, the young leaves are okay. And all the rest of them are the ones that got burnt. So yeah, even that papaya is probably going to get hammered when it gets colder. Certainly this cranberry hibiscus is going to freeze pretty good, and so is this chaya. So yeah, I'm going to put all my effort now, mostly all of it at least, into temperate plants. And there are plenty of great temperate plants we can grow here. You know, we're considered warm temperate to subtropical. Warm temperate being, you know, zones 8 to 10, subtropical being zones 9 to 11. So there's some overlap in there. We're in zone 9, so we're somewhere between subtropical to warm temperate. So we can go with certain things. Pineapple guava, cherry of the Rio Grande. These are very cold hardy, quote unquote, tropical plants. Let's see, there's a Brogden avocado, a nice cold hardy avocado. It should be good down to the low 20s. You know, so we can go somewhat tropical here. Avocados certainly are considered tropical. And I think I've concluded that this is probably a Mexicola. It's got a really low spreading habit. I was trying to decide if it was Mexicola or Winter Mexican. I'm sorry, I think it's Winter Mexican that's got the low spreading habit. Hopefully that's what that is. Both of them are pretty cold tolerant. So avocado, cold tolerant avocado will work. The Suriname cherry there is somewhat cold tolerant for a tropical plant. So that's the thing. If we're going to go with tropicals, they either need to be small enough that we can put them in pots and keep them in the greenhouse, or they're at least root hardy and we don't mind them dying back to the ground. And then, you know, resprouting the following spring. And for a small plant, that'll often work for us, especially if it's down in the herb layer or something like that. But as far as big tropical plants, like I said, mango, forget it. We're way too cold for mango. Bananas, forget it. I'll just keep using them for chop and drop until they finally give up the ghost. So I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, you know. I feel like it's a relief. I'm not going to worry anymore about tropical plants freezing. I am not going to worry, I'm not going to have the hassle of having to water tropical plants, because tropical plants are very water hungry plants. They grow very fast. You know, if you're a plant and you live in the tropics where it's growing season year round, if you don't grow fast, you know, you're going to go extinct. So tropical plants are really fast growing plants. That means they need a lot of water, especially in the heat of the summer. So that's a chore I'm glad I don't really have to do. My temperate plants don't need to be watered nearly as much as the tropicals. So yeah, I'm feeling a sense of relief. It's better to learn a lesson later. It's better later than never. So that's kind of my story and how this evolved. It's very common here in Florida because we're almost tropical. It's very common for people to want to grow tropical plants. But that's the problem, is that almost only counts in horseshoes, right? And hand grenades, that's the old saying. Let's see, right here where we're located, it's supposed to get down to 32 degrees or less on average about 6 or 7 mornings a year. So if you do the math on that, that means the other 359 mornings of the year, it's tropical. And that sounds ideal. That's like over 98% of the time, over 98% of the days it's tropical. And even on those mornings that it does freeze, it only lasts for an hour or two. So if you actually do the math on the hours, we're at 99.9% of the hours of the year we're tropical. But all it takes is 1 hour every year to wipe out things like bananas and mangoes. And it's just silly to try to grow tropicals here. And, you know, other than, like I said, a few cases where you can work with things dying back to the ground or put things in a pot and move them to the greenhouse for the winter. So lesson learned. You know, one of the key things in permaculture or food forest gardening is right plant in the right place. Central Florida is not tropical. Duh. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Y'all take care now and happy gardening.